last week you were mentioning Lindsay Ellis quite a bit for our talk on cats, and I was wondering if you've seen her video on The Hobbit.
Probably, but I can't really remember.
Okay, so towards the end, she talks about a big fiasco where the unions tried to get rights in New Zealand, and the Hobbit production crew basically just screwed them over. And
A Tale as Old as Time.
Yes, so I was interested in that for my university because it won the module was Media for Development was the module, and I was thinking, well, obviously New Zealand gets a lot of money from these New Zealand films, so I was looking into it, and basically what I discovered is that New Zealand, it's a banana republic. One of the people actually compared it to a banana republic with Warner Brothers is the banana company and New Zealand is New Zealand, where pretty much what happened is, and this is the real bombshell, okay? Equity, which is the union, said, okay, we're not going to work on this film, blah, 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 blah. And everyone in New Zealand basically hated Equity. So but we love Lord of the Rings. Why do you hate Lord of the Rings? Equity was like, this is just not going to go well for us because everyone hates us. So we'll enter into an agreement with Warner Brothers. So they entered into an agreement. They pretty much conceded. And then Warner Brothers said, can we wait for just a little while so we can decide how we're going to announce that the dispute is over. So just give us time to prepare a statement. Actually, it's like, okay, yeah, sure, fine. Nothing will be wrong here. Anyway, flash forward a couple of days, Warner Brothers still hasn't made an announcement. Peter Jackson knows that a resolution has been reached, but he goes to the Weta Productions, which is the studio that was doing a lot of the animation stuff, and says to his employees that the dispute isn't over and that actually Warner Brothers are about to move the production out of New Zealand. Whereupon 1,500 of his workers then march from their studio to the capital of Wellington with this big anti-union protest, and they got these placards that say unions suck, save our precious home, New Zealand is Middle Earth. Equity's they released a statement hold on a minute, the dispute's over, that we've backed down. The media just ignores that and they're just reporting on everything. At the exact same time, there was supposed to be a big, irrelevant, unrelated pro-union march happening by, some random labour movement. Equity and Warner Brothers reached a resolution. Peter Jackson knew that there had been a resolution, but he intentionally, first of all, Warner Brothers intentionally delayed announcing that there'd been a resolution so that Peter Jackson could then intentionally tell all of his workers that the production was going to leave. So all of his workers could then form a big anti-union protest so that they could all head down to Wellington to protest against the unions so that then the right-wing conservative government of New Zealand could force through under emergency powers, which most of the people I was reading have said was basically illegal, this new law which specifically amended it so that film workers can now no longer engage in collective bargaining. But yeah, basically New Zealand is totally screwed. And Peter Jackson's kind of an arsehole who is definitely in cahoots with both the Conservative government and Warner Brothers.
That does not surprise me. One little bit.
Oh, also, Peter Jackson's worth $500 million. So I would not be surprised if he saw a bit of money from Warner Brothers for this whole situation.
Oh, no, for sure, yeah. So thanks for that, Michael.
And speaking of cynical movie studios, The Lion King.
Yeah, that's a good transition. Great.
Hello and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast where we look at films that come out in the near and distant past. We give them a couple of watches and evaluate them beyond first impressions. I'm your host Michael and I'm joined as always by my co-host Luke. And this week we are looking at the 2019 Lion King film just because it's a thing. There's a film. So Luke, why don't you tell us a thing or two about the Lion King 2019 live action film thing?
Sure thing. So the reason why we're doing this movie this week is because what we have been doing recently, what we did Cats last week, and next week we're going to do The Rise of Skywalker, 3 great films from the year 2019 that I think, they have their qualities and they have their bad points, and I feel like during this pandemic, it's, since no movies are coming out, we might as well do some of the films from last year that made headlines, and one of them was, of course, The Lion King. The Lion King is a 2019 American musical drama film directed and produced by Jon Favreau, written by Jeff Nathanson, and produced by Walt Disney Pictures. It is a photorealistic, computer-animated remake of Disney's traditionally animated 1994 film of the same name. Aren't those some great words there?
I love it.
A photorealistic, computer-animated remake. Obviously, it's based on Disney's The Lion King by Irene Mecci, Jonathan Roberts, and Linda Wolverton. It stars Donald Glover, Seth Rogen, Chiwetel Ejiofor, I hope I said that correctly, Alfre Woodard, Billy Eichner, John Carney, John Oliver, Beyonce Knowles Carter and James Earl Jones. It was released on July the 19th, 2019, so about 11 months ago, in the United States. And Michael, can you tell me what the budget was for the 2019 Lion King?
I would assume it was a lot. Like over 100, let's say, I don't know, 120 million? I feel like they would have been willing to invest quite a bit in this. Possibly even more than that, but 120 million, I'll say.
Double it.
240 million, jeez. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
250 to 260
Wow.
was the budget for this. So yeah, they pumped a lot of money into it. I guess, it must have taken a lot of money to create everything they did.
I mean, yeah, to be fair, I can see where that money went. I mean, it still seems like a lot. And also, I guess they had to, get quite a few big stars in it. I imagine Beyonce's not cheap.
Yeah, she probably isn't. And can you tell me what the box office is, Michael, as well?
I feel like this made around $1 billion, which is disappointing. I kind of hope I'm wrong. I'm sure I've heard it made around $1 billion. So maybe I'm going to err on the side of I don't want it to be $1 billion and just say like 950 million.
Well, Michael, you are incorrect. It did not make around $1 billion.
Oh, it made less. That's good.
Yeah. Did I say yeah? I meant no.
Oh.
That's what I meant. My apologies. It actually made 1.6 billion.
I hate you.
Don't hate me. I'm just the messenger here.
Oh, wow. 1.6 billion. That's so much. That is a staggeringly huge amount.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
1.6 billion. Like, that must make it one of the highest grossing
movies of all time. It's behind Titanic, Avatar, Force Awakens, Avengers, the two Avengers movies. So what does that put it? 6th?
Yeah.
Maybe? Yeah, probably. I mean, maybe there's another movie I'm missing, but definitely in the top 10 for sure. So yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why we're doing it, I guess, because it's a massively successful movie. And of course, there's not going to be a sequel to it, so, might as well do it now. The question now is, Michael, did you like the 2019 version of The Lion King?
No, I didn't like it. I was going to try and do some funny way of introducing it, but no. I'm too angry about the fact it made so much money, so I'm just going to say I didn't like it.
Yeah, I also did not like this movie. And it's crazy how, well, I guess we'll get into the Cats comparison later on. But yeah, well, maybe in the conclusion. But yeah, you consider how much we dislike Cats and how much we dislike this movie. Just the comparison in terms of how successful this movie did compared to Cats. And obviously we'll get into that, why this movie was so successful, even though we did not like it. But Michael, how many nitpicks did you have for The Lion King?
I only got 2.
Okay. I got 3.
Okay, so I'll go first. The first one is, it's a weird line of dialogue. Zazu says, he's small, but he's cute. Obviously, the but there seems weird, because obviously, if something's cute, you would tend to say, oh, like he's saying it's when he's kind of lost the lion when they're singing the, just can't wait to be king song, and he's like, oh, I can't find a lion, someone help me. Have you seen him? He's small, but he's cute. And you're like, but that's those two things go together. There's no but there. It's like, he's small, he's cute. It was very strange. And I can't think of any explanation for how that line could have made sense.
And Zazu likes him chonk.
He likes his BBWs.
Okay, what's the next
Big, beautiful warthogs. Anyway, and this one's a more minor one, obviously, but what were the hyenas eating before? Because apparently they lived in this elephant graveyard place where there was not much food, and then they moved over to this place where there's loads of food, and they just ate everything. So it's like, how were they even alive earlier when, if they're, because they were able to apparently just sustain themselves. The only thing I can think is they don't need much food. They're just, just eat loads of it, even though they don't need it. But then why aren't they fat?
Yeah, I'm really not sure. I don't think this movie has thought too much about it, to be honest. So you shouldn't either. Okay, so my 3 nitpicks are, so this is something that came in to this movie, which is a line from Scar, where he says to Mufasa right at the beginning of the movie, I was first in line.
Oh, yeah.
Then he says Mufasa is his big brother. So which is it? I think it was pretty clear in the original. Well, they didn't mention that Scar was first in line, so you'd assume that Mufasa was born first, so he's the heir to the throne. But if Scar was first in line, then, well, that changes the dynamic of the movie. If, he actually was meant to be king and Mufasa stole it from him. But then he says later on Mufasa is his big brother. So I have no idea really what's going on there. Movie was quite incoherent within, like 2 lines of each other. So anyway, next nitpick is us, Michael.
Yes.
It's us. For even contemplating the idea that Kimber the White Lion was ripped off by the original Lion King.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because you told me to watch that video explaining why Kimber the White Lion isn't anything like the Lion King, the movie. And we should not have entertained that. I mean, I listened to the original podcast we did on the Lion King, and we did mention it. We said, well, there are some claims that the Lion King was copied off this Japanese anime called Kimber, and we gave it some credence, and we shouldn't have given it any, Michael. We should have just laughed that suggestion off, shouldn't we?
Yeah, although to be fair, I am a big advocate for the idea that people can't be expected to know everything. So, I'm personally...
Disgraceful.
I always remember one time on Reddit, somebody just posted like a random thing that was just like a lie. It was like a picture of them and it came with a lie. And someone's like, wow, you guys clearly are all stupid, because I went 6 months back into their profile history and here they've got a completely different picture of themselves. And I was like, okay, fair enough. I actually commented. It's one of my like most highly upvoted, not like care or anything, posts on Reddit or like content Reddit. I was like, hey, okay, yeah, cool. But, it's not surprising that people didn't go 6 months back into his history. And in the same way, I feel like this, YMS guy is what he's called. Your Movie Sucks. He watched, by his own admission, did he say like 3,000 minutes of Kimber? And
yeah.
And obviously, we can't really be blamed for not watching that. We were lied to. We were victims in this. And I feel like in many ways we're actually entitled to compensation because it did cause damage to our integrity. And I think we'd have hundreds of thousands of subscribers if people hadn't seen us make that blundering error of thinking that, yeah, it did rip off Kimber when it didn't.
Yes, we are the victims in all this, actually. Yeah, we were led to believe a lie. So, yes, that is true. So my third nitpick then. Now, Michael, I know that nobody ripped off Kimber the White Lion.
Yes.
But I think I have made a shocking discovery.
Do you think this film ripped off the 1994 film The Lion King?
Fuck, that was exactly the joke I was going to make. You stole it away from me. Oh, God, I was going to set it up, and I wasn't going to mention that, and you were going to be like, oh, what movie do you think this movie ripped off? And I was going to go the 1994 Lion King, and you would go, haha, good joke. But no, you just had to fucking take away my glory.
Well, it did.
How could you?
It did rip off another classic animated movie, beloved by everyone. And that's the 1978 Ralph Bakshi version of Lord of the Rings, where Aragorn needs to take his place as king of Gondor. So, shouldn't have done that. Oh, I hope Ralph Bakshi sued.
I was actually thinking of Lord of the Rings watching this. I probably thought of it watching the 1994 Lion King, but yeah, similar stories there.
Yeah, well, I like to often play out hypothetical conversations on the day we're going to do the podcast. I like to think, what if Luke says this? And I think, well, I say this. And I actually mentioned Lord of the Rings in one of those hypothetical conversations I like to have in my head. So we'll have to see if the conversation turns in that direction, and then I will mention Lord of the Rings again.
I mean, probably not, because I don't really have any interest in mentioning Lord of the Rings from here on out, just to let you know.
Damn it.
Yeah.
You never do what I imagine you'll do. I
know, right? You guessed this one. I was going to say this movie contains the dialogue, the scene composition, plot, and characters that are almost identical to another movie. Dun dun dun.
I got this. Bambi.
Yeah, Bambi. Actually, dun dun dun. The 1997 version of Kimber the White Lion.
Oh yeah, why did they do that?
Yeah. Yeah, that should have been it. Yeah, but obviously, yes, that was a joke.
Yes,
that's what it was. But yeah, so I only have probably actually one nitpick. The other two are just nitpicking us and the fact that people make claims that this copied this, and obviously it is. Sometimes people are incorrect on that.
Although, to be fair, it should be pointed out that nitpicks, by their definition, are things that don't affect our rating, so it almost doesn't matter. Maybe we should just not start with these nitpicks, because they're pointless. Isn't it hilarious that we start off... Well, I guess it makes sense. We start off with the things that don't impact our opinions on the film.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a case of getting it out the way,
yeah.
So we're not bogged down with these little nitpicks as they were. Okay, so I just want to say, by the way, Michael, I just looked on this on Wikipedia, and despite it not being advertised as an animated film, this Lion King is the highest grossing animated film of all time. Do you know which movie it surpassed?
Wow! Shrek 2.
No, not Shrek 2. We have reviewed it.
Oh,
we reviewed it in November, I think, of last year.
Okay, so here's the thing. I really feel like it's Frozen.
It is Frozen. Okay. Well done.
Wow,
good. Yeah.
I rarely get these right.
It is actually the 7th highest grossing movie of all time.
Lovely.
So yeah, number 7. Let's get into the plot. So, the plot follows Simba, a young lion who must embrace his role as the rightful king of his native land, following the murder of his father Mufasa at the hands of his uncle, Scar. Yeah, that sounds quite familiar. I'm getting a bit of deja vu reading that. Obviously, Michael, we have already reviewed the original Lion King. We've been through all of the, the character arc of Simba, the plot, and there is one thing we haven't touched on, which we'll get onto.
Yes.
But yeah, I think it's just necessary to point out, first and foremost, the differences between the original movie and the 2019 version.
Yes.
So, have you got anything to say on that?
Well, first of all, I think the number one thing is this film is longer. I think that's worth pointing out. I actually can't remember how long the original Lion King is, but I would imagine it clocks in an hour and a half, because that's what almost all Disney films did around this time. In fact, I didn't realise, I've been rewatching a lot of Disney films recently. I didn't realise it wasn't really until Aladdin that they began to actually commit themselves to achieving feature length. Like, prior to that, they were just like, it was pretty much always an hour and 10. They were just like, no, we don't have enough time, 20 minutes. This time they're like, no, let's not only make this, but make it, I would guess, half an hour longer than it originally was. Like I say, I would bet my left nut that the 1994 Lion King was an hour and a half, because who's going to watch? Like, little kids have no attention span. So they added all this stuff to it, which I think is an issue, because there's not really, and this is going to sound like a massive compliment to the 1994 film, and it's not entirely, but there's not really enough or much room to actually improve the plot of this film. And, okay, I want to hear, you can disagree now.
Here's the thing, there are some things that I complained about with the plot in the original. I think this movie, something I noticed is there's just more dialogue in general, and this movie gives more context for things that happen. But I think what was actually disappointing about this movie is I complained about in the original, the ending was bad, and the ending in this one is still bad. How everyone finds out that Scar killed Mufasa, well, he just tells Simba. I mean, there has to be a smarter way of figuring out that Mufasa was killed by Scar than that. I just feel that you could have done something there. But yeah, I think in general, you're right, there's not a lot to add. There are some things like that I would like to see improved. But in general, there's not a lot really that they did in this movie.
Yeah, I think so. The reason why I say it's quite difficult to improve is not necessarily because it is a perfect plot, because I don't think it is. But the reason why I think it's a plot that relies a lot on archetypes and a lot on kind of grand, almost mythical, I guess you'd say, like legendary ideas, like the king or the evil scheming usurper, the prodigal son who returns, the wise king who's like a counselor and he dies, and etc. Like that. And obviously the things like, the whole idea of the wrong person's in charge, so the whole world is going to die. These are like archetypal ideas, and it reminds me of a film series called The Lord of the Rings, which also relies a lot on archetypes. Like, for example, you can't really criticize The Lord of the Rings by going, it's the place where the evil people live is called Mount Doom, and Sauron's live in this big black tower. Isn't that kind of just on the nose? Well, yeah, because it's a story about these classic fantasy archetypes. In the same way, this is also a story about these classic archetypes, and therefore I don't think you can't really add too much to it before it becomes a different film.
Yeah, you can just add more context. Like, I think of the scene where the hyenas... No, sorry, not the hyenas. Where Nala has to slink away from Scar.
That was quite good, yeah.
That scene isn't in the original movie. Also, there are some differences to the original plot. Just small differences, how Scar isn't already working with the hyenas when he first meets them and does that discount version of Be Prepared.
Oh, yeah, that's so weird that they did that. I mean, we'll get into that later.
Yeah. Another thing that I have to mention is that Simba doesn't think, as he's running away from Scar, when he tells him to run, these hyenas are chasing me.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe Scar has something to do that. I don't know. I mean, I didn't put that. I remember not saying that in the first Lion King, and again in this one, it does call into question Simba's intelligence that he can, put all this together. Scar told me to be in the middle of this gorge, and then suddenly hyenas are chasing me. Was this planned? Or was this just something organic that happened? But yeah, he doesn't figure any of that out.
I think
that was some.
I think the thing is, in the cartoon, because you mentioned you didn't pick this up in the cartoon, I think one thing is you can kind of excuse things that happen in the cartoon because it does feel a bit more removed from reality, and therefore you can be like, oh, okay, that's just cartoon logic or whatever. And whereas in this film, because it's trying to be realistic, and you feel like, oh yeah, these are, I mean, I don't want to say real lions because they do not look like real lions we'll get into, but you kind of think, oh, this is trying to be realistic, and therefore you notice the things which feel a bit off more. Like, I don't really want to say stupid things, but things where you can tell as like plot holes.
You can
and things
say that.
Yeah, stupid things. You notice the stupid things more. And the other thing I would argue that you notice, I'm going to use one of my favorite words, is the word reify, which is, of course, refers to the making something real. And in this case, I think making something too real, specifically the thematic dimension to this film. Because as I said before, the original cartoon it feels like a grand mythos. It doesn't feel like just a real world story. It kind of feels like a personification of the idea of nature. And therefore, lots of the things that happen, which kind of feel thematically a bit weird, like, oh yeah, it's great that these lions eat loads of antelope. When you see it in real life, and you're like, oh, look, that's a real meerkat and a real warthog leading a lion to his pride, where he's then going to presumably assume the role of overseeing lions that are then going to eat and kill antelope, who it's established are sentient in this film. And it drives everything home. So I think that's a massive thematic change, not necessarily changing the themes themselves. I think the themes are roughly the same, but because of the way this film feels hyper-realistic, it no longer feels like, oh yeah, I can accept, the circle life. Like, oh, these are like real animals who are sentient, who are just being butchered so other animals can eat them. That's kind of messed up. So yeah.
Okay, so you're saying because it's more quote-unquote realistic, that means that the theme, it's harder to believe the theme.
Yeah, exactly. And I think they try to, within the film, justify some aspects of the theme. Like, for example, he says like, oh, the hyenas are presented like just naturally, almost genetically like an inferior race who just consumes things. So the lions have to keep them out. And obviously that's, if that happened in the cartoon, oh yeah, because cartoons, obviously they use concepts. So for example, we just go, oh, the hyenas are bad because they look gross and they live in this dark, scary place. And we, as people watching an animated film, we're like, oh yeah, okay, that's communicated to us that they're bad. And we don't need a logical reason for it. But in this film, they can't use visuals in that creative of a way. So they have to go, oh, why are the hyenas bad? Because they're parasites. They're the lazy eater, or what was it called? Like there's the term that fascists used to use, like the useless eater. That's it. The hyenas are useless eaters. So it should be in our glorious pride.
Okay, well, do you want to get on to talking about that?
Yeah, well, I figured this might be something you like to rally against fascism, I hear, so.
Yeah, I'm part of Antifa.
It is a terrorist organisation.
Yeah. So, here's the thing. There is an obvious comparison between the hyenas' lands and the Pride lands, with poor and rich neighbourhoods, and the hyenas being the underclass. And what is quite... maybe controversial is too strong a word, but what makes the hyenas portrayal uneasy... It's
unpalatable.
In this movie it is portrayed that, okay, lions and hyenas should be separated. The hyenas, as you say, are the undeserving poor. Is that a word you use?
The phrase I used was useless eaters, which is, okay. I do remember that is a term that the fascists in Germany like to use.
Ah, right, okay. So the hyenas are the useless eaters, and the lions are the people who actually, make things work around here and run their kingdom properly. One thing I do have to note is that, Scar does say to the girl boss hyena, I can't remember her name, Scar does say to her, you've destroyed your neighbourhood, or the place you live, or something like that, which, given what's going on in America right now is... and the comparisons that have been made. It's a bit of a dicey line. But yes, I think at the end of the day, you have to. You're gonna have to make the hyenas the bad people, and you're gonna have to. Well, here's the thing. We talked about last time in the original how it's quite a monarchist view of the world. How in The Lion King, how the hyenas come in, Scar's now the king, and that just quote-unquote disrupts the natural order of things in the Pride Lands. The delicate balance is now out of balance, which is, like I said, quite a monarchist approach. It's kind of more hierarchical. There are just some people who are meant to be in charge, and their nature, if the people who are in charge should be in charge, then nature will work and everything will be fine. In this movie, it is a bit different, and it actually has some logic to it, because Scar does actually mismanage the Pride Lands. He overhunts everything and kills everything and doesn't respect the balance that should be in the Pride Lands. He kills everything. So that's the thing. There's some more logic to it, and you can argue the movie is less monarchist than the original, but then, you could argue it's kind of more pro-segregationist, because then there's something inherently wrong with the hyenas. And again, maybe we're reading too much into it, like the hyenas are the underclass and the lions are the people who rule, over the Pride Lands and make it work properly, but there is definitely a comparison there that does need to be made, considering well, I think it stems from the voices of the hyenas in the original.
They had kind of various ethnic minority voices, didn't they? Or like,
they weren't white voices.
Yes.
So that's when, that's I guess racial coding. That's where it comes in, and so that's why the comparisons were made at the time, and still to this day. So yeah, I think that's it. Obviously, it's a movie meant for kids, and it's about fictional lines, so the politics of it isn't that important. But you know what? We didn't mention it last time, and we like to mention stuff like this, so I thought I'd bring it up.
Yeah, well, I think actually one point, just final point about themes, because one of the things Jon Favreau says is that he wanted it to be like a nature documentary. That's something he said. He wanted it to be like almost like a documentary, which is the obvious kind of approach you might think to take. Because it's like, well, people see nature documentaries and think, oh wow, Planet Earth. I think you could argue, if you were reviewing that, you could say Planet Earth is like a 9 out of 10, just based on how beautiful it is. But something I think is an issue is that you can't moralize nature. Because because that's the thing about The Lion King. The Lion King is the circle of life, and essentially what you got to do is you got to say that what The Lion King is really saying is you take nature as it is, and therefore you just say, well, nature, obviously lions eat leopards, and that's how it is. Like no one watches a nature documentary and goes like, oh, that lion's a really bad person, really really evil. Oh, that lion's the bad guy. You just understand, okay, that's just what nature is. There's no real moral dimension to nature. When you watch like a mum who just abandons her chick, like a mum bird, abandoned her chick because her chick's got a broken wing, and she's like, well, obviously this chick's never going to survive, so I'm just going to abandon it. If that was a real person, if you saw a woman abandon her kid because he had a broken arm, you'd be like, whoa, that's not 100% okay. But you see a bird doing it, like, well, that's just it.
That's not 100% okay.
And I think so. The issue is that within, like I say, the logic of the animated film, it doesn't really try to substantiate that moralization beyond just saying, oh, look at how gross and weird and dark and evil they look. And look at how there's that horrible green, just like lava smoke coming out from this crater. Look at how evil where they live is. Which works, the idea of just, okay, so you just say, all right, it's just telling us through the way it's communicating things that they're evil. But in this film, it's like, you got to say, oh, the hyenas are bad because they do this thing. They eat too much. And then you got to go, well, okay, so we're applying moral critiques then. So how about, moral critiques not just based on the language of filmmaking, but moral critiques based on how the characters behave. And you go, how about all those characters there who are killing and eating sentient creatures when they could just eat bugs, which aren't sentient, but let's be honest, they're not going to do that. So, like I say, the issue at its core is that you can't really have a moral story where also the theme is the essential nature of nature. The nature is basically just circle of life. There's no good guys and bad guys. It's all just, but then in this one, they go like, well, there's a bad guy. And you're like, well, it doesn't really work. And like I say, it only works in the animated version.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there is a logical reason why, for example, the hyenas have to mismanage, and Scar has to mismanage the Pride Lands because, in the original, like I said, it's just, well, Mufasa or Simba isn't king, so everything's messed up. It doesn't really make sense logically. But again, then, yes, if you're trying to make it like a documentary, but then you're ascribing moral characteristics to these creatures like the hyenas, there is something that doesn't add up there. So yeah, I do think you are correct overall. I guess it's a tough one. It really is, because I'm a fan of logic in movies, but also then then you like hyenas actually exist in real life. Yeah, you can't go down, I guess, the realistic path. You have to, I guess you have to throw logic out the window with this kind of movie. You just do, which is a hard thing for me to say. And I criticized the original for not having logic in, but I guess now a movie has come along which has addressed my concerns. I realize I was wrong. And you should just have, everything goes bad because things go bad. So yeah, I guess that's it.
Yeah, I think basically you could have that aspect of there being evil, but then I think the thing is you kind of have to turn the themes on their head. Because, for example, the Jungle Book, there's no issue with Shere Khan being just a bad guy in that. Because ultimately, if anything, the main theme of the Jungle Book is that there's an inherent conflict between humanity and animals. That's like the theme of the Jungle Book. And obviously having Shere Khan be evil and bad works fine in that context, because obviously tigers, kill people and eat people and stuff like that. But the main theme of the Jungle Book is, hey, this is just the way things are. There's a big circle and everyone has their place and you've got to get into it and blah, blah, blah. And obviously the minute you apply like a moral criticism to that, you're like, well, no, that doesn't really work. And obviously, so then that's why it doesn't really make sense. And then have these hyenas are bad. Like, oh, everybody has their place, but fuck scavengers. Like, oh, but scavengers have their place. Scavengers are actually kind of useful. Scavengers, like, you know, they clean up the carcasses, stuff like that. It's basically, I'm tired of this anti-scavenger propaganda.
Yeah, again, there is a dissonance there within the movie.
Mm.
It's like, well, we're all part of the circle of life, apart from these horrible scavengers who are bad people, who do bad things. Okay, well, yeah. I mean, it's fine to have that described as one character. It's the fact that it's every single hyena. Like, the hyenas themselves are the problem. Which, again, doesn't make sense when they should be part of this circle of life.
This is why they should have remade The Lion King 2, where, of course, the bad guys are other lions. See? Lion King 2 comes out on top, as always.
Yeah.
And who would have even... Like, that would have been the best strategy, because who would have even cared? Apart from me, because I stand The Lion King 2.
All right.
How sad.
But one thing that is definitely not standard in this movie is the animation. Yeah, I went there.
Animaniac, you.
Yeah. So here's the issue with the animation in this movie, Michael.
Is it that it's bad?
It's bad. It's a very impressive achievement what they've done here, but the problem is when you are animating animals and trying to make these animals look as realistic as possible, and then have to have them talk, have to convey emotions, you're going to have a problem. And the first time that I really picked up on it is when Zazu, the bird, obviously voiced by John Oliver, he's having a conversation with Scar at the beginning of the movie, and he's going like, Scar, 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 as if he's scared. And I could not tell that he was scared.
He just thought he had a weird nervous twitch. Scar, Scar, Scar. Like a Rain Man.
That's the thing, because he's a fucking bird.
Yeah.
They have no expressions, so I could
they
not
don't,
tell.
like, birds don't even have lips. Which I'm not going to make a criticism about the fact he obviously uses bilabial sounds in his speech, which wouldn't make sense for his bird. But definitely, like, at least animals can, like, smile or snarl. Oh, sorry, animals. Birds are animals. At least, like, mammals can, like, snarl or smile or, I don't know, make kissy faces. Birds can't do anything. They can literally just move their beak around.
Yeah, which is why when he started saying Scar, I had no idea what the context was, why he was saying that Scar was a threat to him. And that was the first time it struck me. And that was a completely natural reaction. It was just like, oh yeah, this isn't working, is it? This just is not working.
But yeah, see, I want to talk about, you mentioned your first time. I want to talk about my worst time. This was the time when I burst out laughing because of how bad it was. And it's the scene where Mufasa's like, I need to teach my son a lesson. And then Simba, of course, does the thing, which is from the original film, where he puts his foot in his father's footprint and realizes in that moment that it's a literal, he's got big shoes to fill. And obviously in the cartoon, you see it zooms in on Simba's face and he looks, it kind of communicates a complex emotion, which is kind of sadness, but also a sense of duty, blah, 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 blah. And in this film, he puts his hand in there and then it just cuts to his dumb lion face, not reacting at all, just staring at it. And I just found it so funny because I was thinking, like, in the actual, like, literally, it just looks like a dumb cat just looking at something, just going, oh, look at that. Look, it's my foot. Like, literally no sense of anything. And obviously the thing there is in the cartoon, it is not something where there's any dialogue. It's just like, oh man. So literally all you have in the cartoon is the footprint in the sand and his look. And in this one, what you've got is just a lion looking at their hand.
Yes, it is good. The thing is, you're watching those scenes and you're trying to infer what is going on, what his face should be doing, and you're remembering the original movie. It's like, oh, this is the point where he's really sad, and you have to remember because the lion isn't fucking doing anything; it's just staring at the foot. And I think the worst bit that was your worst bit. That wasn't the worst bit for me. The worst bit was when Mufasa dies, and obviously Simba was upset that his dad has died.
Oh yeah.
And just none of it comes through.
He's like, Dad, get up, Dad.
Yeah, because lions can't fucking emote.
Like, that's the thing. I hate to say it, but I'm more of a cat person than a dog person. I don't really buy into the whole dichotomy. But I will admit, dogs have very, like, expressive faces. I've seen dogs and I'm like, oh, that dog's really happy. Oh, that dog's really sad. Like, you can tell. With a cat, genuinely, all they do is just look at you with their dumb face and just go meow. Like, I don't know. I've seen my cat, like, the day after its brother died. My cat's had a brother and he died, and he was just sat there with his dumb face still. And maybe in that moment he was experiencing the greatest inner turmoil in his life, but all I saw was a dumb face looking at me going meow. I was like, yeah, that's the moment when I realized, a dog would look sad right now. It should have been about dogs.
And you think about the original when Mufasa dies, and I can picture Simba's face just in distress, and his eyes and raised, and him pushing his dad. I can picture that scene. This one, there is none of that. He could just be like looking off into the distance, like you say. He's clearly distressed because of the dialogue, but you get none of that. And that's the issue. All the time you are watching this movie and thinking, wow, how inferior this is to the original.
Yeah. Also, Nala isn't as sexy. I just wanted to add that. Because when you were talking about your worst moment, I was just thinking about, you remember in the actual scene, the actual cartoon, I don't know, I keep calling it a cartoon. For some reason that feels invalid. I feel like cartoon's a TV thing. But it is a cartoon. Where they have that scene where Nala just gives him those eyes, those classic eyes.
Yeah, that isn't in the new one.
We don't get any sexy lion faces in this.
Well, that's the thing with all the songs, apart from the Circle of Life, they're all much shitter because of the animation, because characters can't emote. And we'll get onto the songs, but obviously one of the key things about musicals is the best songs come from when a character is showing so much emotion that they simply can't contain it any longer and have to sing.
Yeah,
that's the idea.
Actually, no, it's funny you mentioned that, because the thing I want to say on the also subject of songs, but related as well, is when they were doing the I Just Can't Wait to Be King, all I wrote down in my notes was lions can't dance. Because I was thinking about it. I was thinking, obviously the animation in musicals, one of the great things about animated musicals is that the animation can just go berserk during a musical.
Yes.
Like obviously you've got Ain't Never Had a Friend Like Me and Aladdin and things like that. Just the animation can just go mental in a musical number, because it's obviously musicals are the point where the characters break suspension of belief anyway, because obviously you don't have to, people in real life don't just randomly start singing. So obviously anything can happen during a musical and you're like, okay, well, I'm accepting at this point the characters are just going to randomly start singing. If there's going to be a load of pelicans who are suddenly going to do a coordinated dance routine, I'm willing to accept that too. And obviously in the animation it comes across really well. But I was thinking, well, there are, non-animated musicals I like West Side Story and things like that. I was thinking, what makes it better? I was like, oh, dancing. Like obviously in West Side Story, the choreography is really good. In, I don't know, La La Land, there's really good choreography, really good costume design, things like that. There's loads of stuff going on. The characters are dynamically interacting with the camera. And it's just got some lions just going, like all they can do is just crawl. They don't have hands. They can't move.
Yeah. They can kind of jump sometimes. That's what they can do.
They can walk and they can jump.
Yeah. The biggest thing, I'll get back to it though, because the biggest thing is that when obviously a character's, they can't contain themselves anymore. They just have to let it all out, and they have to sing. They've got too much emotion. It doesn't work with characters that can't emote. That can't happen. So it just feels so artificial and forced.
Yeah,
it really is incredibly disappointing. Just comparing it to the original and how. I mean, we'll get onto the songs later and how great. You mentioned. I Just Can't Wait to Be King. That is such a massive come down from the original animated one. I will say though, just a positive for the animation. I thought, what was the best animal that actually worked, that I could actually kind of believe?
The Timon.
Which one's that?
The meerkat.
That's the meerkat. Yes, that is correct.
Okay, I thought so. Yeah.
Yeah, the meerkat is okay. I was like, okay, this meerkat, I can believe. This kind of, but for the lions, and definitely not for Zazu, that it's a definite no for those.
Yeah, I think a big thing is hands. Like, I don't know why. I just think if you're going to do this, you have to have hands. Like, I was actually thinking, and I was going to ask you this later, and I will ask you later, but I was thinking about, the films which are best for a remake and the films that are worse. And I was thinking, well, really, any film with animals in it, I don't think that would work. And I realised the obvious one that would work, as I'm sure you realise, is The Rescuers. The Rescuers and The Rescuers Down Under, and I guess by extension, The Great Mouse Detective. Obviously, all three films being about mice, because mice work fine in a live-action animated CGI context, because they can grab things, they can smile. We've all seen Stuart Little. It's a classic. It's 10 out of 10, and that's because mice can interact with things around them.
I've got a theory about Stuart Little. By the way.
Okay, well, I want to know it.
It is the whitest movie ever created.
It is really white. You are correct. Wow.
Yeah,
that's brilliant.
Yeah, that's just something I saw it, and I remember thinking that's this is white. Obviously, in terms of America, that is the whitest.
Yeah. Well,
movie.
have you seen the spin-off Stuart X?
No.
It's a reference to the fact that I don't know if you know this, but Malcolm X's name used to be Malcolm Little. You know that?
I did not know
Okay,
that.
yeah. So his name used to be Malcolm
I
Little.
probably
And then
did,
obviously,
but
you know
I
how
can't
like members of the Nation of Islam, like Muhammad Ali and all that stuff, changed their name because obviously it's the slave name thing. It's like, oh, your name comes from the household that you're, the plantation where your ancestors worked. So you give yourself a new name. And Malcolm X's name used to be Malcolm Little. So, it's very funny to me that there would be.
You might want to cut that out.
I think that's really funny. But I think it would have been funnier if you knew that Malcolm Little was Malcolm X. Then
Yeah, if you gave me like 4 options, like on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, I probably would have guessed Little.
yeah, that makes sense. Anyway, is there anything else to say about animation?
Well, no, I don't. No. Go on.
Yeah, I think here's the thing. It kind of feels like we should talk about animation a lot just because of how bad it is. It's one of those things where like sometimes something in a film is just so ubiquitous that you want to just be talking about it the whole time. What you want to be doing is, and that's the thing, like, I feel like I want to see someone just have so many scenes you could just do side to side. Like, I mean, you mentioned the scene where Simba's dad is dead, but the
Yes,
other
I
one,
did.
I think, is when Simba sees the stampede coming. And in the animated, you get like this just look of absolute terror on his face. And in this version,
Oh,
again,
yeah, his eyes get so big they bulge in.
I know, yeah, it's just, and then in this version, it's just nothing. It's just, so yeah, that's the thing. But obviously, we could literally just go through almost
Well, I think
so many scenes.
that guy YMS is probably going to do that. 'Cause
Yeah.
He said he was making a movie on how bad the 2019 Lion King was, so that makes sense that
Yeah.
that would be something he'd do. And there is a lot to take down. Like, you can go through every scene
Yeah,
pretty much, and apart from I think the beginning, and just say, look how much worse this is compared to the original version.
although actually,
And,
there is one thing I just wanted to make clear on subject animation, which is, and there's something I should have really started with, but it doesn't matter. I just want to say that The Lion King, the 1994 film, is not that good on a lot of levels. I think you could argue the themes aren't really great. You could say the themes are there, but I wouldn't necessarily say the themes are like mind blowing.
the strength is the character arc.
Well,
of Simba.
I was going to say the biggest strength for The Lion King is the animation. That's where I was going with this.
Oh,
But,
yeah. In terms of the actual movie, I'm
yeah,
talking about the actual
yeah.
story.
Yeah. So definitely, the character arc of Simba is the strength. But yeah, basically, I was thinking the animation is, and I was thinking it's possibly, having watched, like I say, quite a few of these Disney films, I think it's possibly the best animation in any Disney film, just in terms of like how beautiful it looks and things like that. And obviously,
It's a beautiful place, isn't it?
yeah. So this film, it's a real come down when you take the film, and that's why I think it is easily.
It's a massive come
It's
down,
the worst film they could have picked. Obviously, no, it's not, because they made loads of money from it because it's such a classic film that loads of people just wanted to go see because of the brand recognition. But in terms of just actual artistic merit, it's the worst film for them to have done this to,
Yeah,
because
you are.
The Lion
you are
King
right.
is the film which benefits most from its quality animation.
Yeah, I agree. There is a profound sadness watching this.
Hmm.
You remember all the great moments from the original and the animation and the music and how it's all just been bastardized. And you mentioned before about humans in Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast
Hmm.
and how they could dance. Obviously, humans are not in the Lion King, and that is what makes it undoubtedly worse, along with how good the original is. The Mufasa death scene, man, it's just so awful compared to the original one.
Hmm.
And I think the story is decent. As we said, I think the character arc of Simba is really good, and all of it combined together, it just makes you so much more depressed that this abomination really happened. They did this to this incredible movie that came out in 1994.
Look how they massacred my boy.
Yeah, it does feel like that. It is like, look how they massacred my boy. It does. Literally, that is my feeling right now. Because Lion
Yeah.
King was one of my favourite movies growing up, and all these great memories and moments, and that I loved in the original one, and I can still appreciate as I'm older. But yeah, it's just terrible. It really is. So yeah, speaking of terrible, shall we get onto the music now?
Actually, no, I just wanted to drop. Well, actually, this is relevant to the music, so yeah, we'll go on to music. But I just want to
Okay.
mention one thing about the cast. I don't want to call out specific things. I just want to say that the cast is filled with actors who can't sing and singers who can't act. I'll mention the singers who can't act for a second. Like basically, I found out that the person who plays young Simba was chosen because they're a really good singer, and they aren't a great actor. I mean, obviously, you can kind of. I think children. It's so used to seeing like bad children performances, but I think there were some moments where you could just. Annoyingly, I can't really remember specific moments. I just remember seeing moments where I was like, "Well, that's." And obviously, having said that, the other disadvantage is that you don't have you're obviously already, because of the terrible animation or lack thereof, you can't really feel the emotion. And on top of that, I think there were worse performances by the characters who were chosen mostly for their singing. And I think so the child actors who mostly chose their singing. And also Beyonce, I think, there was one line. I feel like it's a line she says as she's leaving, and it sounds very bad. It's like, she says, like, I don't know, I have to go to find Simba. Like, it is bad delivery. And I would say, like, I'm kind of being a bit mean because, most of the time I didn't notice it. Having said that, I'm going to be even more mean by saying the only reason I think I didn't notice it a lot of the time is because I was distracted by how terrible other aspects were that I wasn't really paying attention to. But the other thing is,
it's hard to judge that. I'd say it's hard to judge it because of how the characters literally aren't emoting. So yeah, it's hard.
But I think part of it was obviously, like, I was aware for the most part because I found out about the kids being chosen for their singing just around I saw it, and then obviously I knew Beyonce was playing Nala, so I was already aware of who were the not actors. So I was maybe being a bit hypercritical. But the other thing is, of course, that there's loads of actors in this who I say there's loads of actors who can't sing. That's not really true. Seth Rogen, just want to say that he
obviously which is
the funny thing is he apparently really didn't want to sing, and he was like, please get a voice double, and they're like, no, you've got to sing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a selling point. It's like Seth Rogen, he's singing in this movie.
Love it.
But the thing is, again, like, it's probably bad, but you're not really focused on the singing. You're more focused on how bad the animation is compared to the original when the songs are being played. So shall we get on to the songs in question now?
Yes. Are we just going to go through them sequentially?
Yeah.
Right.
So the first one is The Circle of Life.
Yeah, that was pretty much unchanged, right?
Yeah, okay. And I think this is fine. This is the one song, I mentioned it before, The Circle of Life, it's the one thing that is actually fine, because obviously none of the characters are singing it.
Yes.
It's literally a shot-for-shot remake, which is surprising because I don't think they needed to do that, but it is what it is. Maybe they do that right at the beginning so they get people really into the swing of it and get people to imagine the old one, because that's, I guess, the key reason why people go to this. Which is the nostalgia. So they do shot for shot, so people picture in their minds these shots of the animated version, and it puts the animated version right into their heads at the beginning of the movie. Maybe that's why it's shot for shot.
Although even then, actually, I'm going to be a bit of a dickhead, because I feel like even then it does show how they missed the opportunity they could have taken, because it is surprising that because I have mentioned, Planet Earth, and obviously Planet Earth is just incredible. It's like easily like the best kind of documentary series, just because of how well shot it is, how great it looks. And even in this moment where all they have to do is showcase the scenery of Africa while the music's playing, there's nothing like breathtaking, which I think is weird, because obviously, you watch you remember they had that BBC series Africa narrated by David Attenborough, and it was basically just like, here's the Nile, here's the, Ethiopia. Basically, they just go all around Africa.
Something like that.
Yeah, so just all here's the Zambezi River. But there's so many just shots in that which are just breathtaking because of just the natural beauty and the way that the obviously very talented camera crews, they would capture it. And also capture these actual real animals in real life doing these real things, which is insane. Yes. Meanwhile, you have these guys who can just create anything. And I'm just shocked that they couldn't get CGI, like better CGI. I mean, I know that they spend loads of money, and obviously this amount of CGI is probably difficult, but they never ever managed to do anything that comes close to just what you see filmed by actual people in Africa, which is disappointing.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, they could have. Yeah, maybe they just weren't allowed to.
Actually, I do want to have one hot take, which I was thinking about this. I was thinking they almost could have, and I think this would have been something which might have worked in a weird way. Just kept the exact same voice track as the original film, just focused entirely on the CGI live action element, and then just said The Lion King live action, and just release it almost as like a new version of the original 1994 film. And that would I could have, and basically just completely committed to making it look as good as possible. It still wouldn't, they'd have to do something about the faces, and that's the issue. So it's not great, but at least then you could have had some nice looking moments, maybe, if they were just entirely focused on making it look good. Like some of the wide shots and stuff. But yeah, no.
Okay. That's Circle of Life.
The one song we both said is good, and then I go on a massive rant about how much I hate it.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. Yeah. That's the thing. It's not better than the original, because it is basically the original, just CGI. So, it is what it is. And like I said, none of the characters are singing it, so you're not focused on that. And you can, I guess, appreciate the music. But shall we go on to the next one, which is probably the worst song?
Yeah, I think so.
Actually, no, it's not. It's the second.
I know. Yeah. I know what the worst one's going to be.
Yeah. I just can't wait to be king. I mean, just the lack of animation. Well, I mean, the lack of good animation. How you think about that song in the original, how colourful it was.
It's just so great.
All these giraffes and hippos standing on top of each other, and Simba and Nala jumping from one animal to another. How colourful, and then just them running through some water in between some zebra's legs, and
with a bird following them.
Yeah, and Zazu gets crushed in the original, and in this one he just gets distracted by I don't know what some leaves. I don't know what he gets distracted by at the end. When he's up in the air, and there's some. I think they're leaves that are around him.
Yeah,
and it's just like. In the original, he gets crushed, so he can't catch them. In this, he's just I think it's leaves are in his way. Well, that's it. He's lost these two.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, as a bird, if you're not a very good scout, you've pretty much failed. Because I would say scouting and just searching for people is the one thing the bird should really have nailed down.
Yeah,
so.
It's really bad.
It is really bad. And I agree with you that it is the second worst.
I just think of the creativity with that. It's so creative, and this is it's the complete opposite. Massive come down, but not as big as the next one, which is Be Prepared.
Yes.
And the song isn't a song in this one. They decided to have it start off being spoken, and then it gets a bit more songy, and then at the end, the last line is, actual song. But I don't know why. It's a great song. I remember last time we had a disagreement. You said it wasn't that great. I really, really liked it.
Yeah, I still maintain that it's not like an earworm or something which I find very catchy. I would still say even in that film that I really like. Even in that song, I really like the animation in the original, which is not shocking. But yeah, the song itself has never really connected with me. Although certainly I think it makes sense to include it because actually include it because obviously it's a villain song.
Yes, and I think it is, as you say, an earworm. I think it is incredibly catchy. I think Jeremy Irons does a fantastic job performing that in the original, but this one, it's just completely mangled, completely butchered. The animation that the original had compared to this dark grab version, it's just pathetic. I don't know why they thought this was a good idea. Maybe they didn't really want to do anything for Be Prepared.
No, I heard they wanted to cut it originally. It sounds crazy,
really?
But no, I heard they wanted to cut it completely. I'm going to look that up while you... So basically, this is dated to a year ago, and it says, Lion King's fans, beware, the live-action movie has cut the film's best song. You do maybe agree. Actually, I don't know many people who think it's the best song in the film. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway.
I can't remember. It is what... I think it's top 2.
I really like... I feel like I have a weird choice for my favourite song. My favourite song is Can You Feel Love Tonight? But anyway, so... I'm a grown-up, or at least that's what my passport says. I can weather a few pop culture disappointments. Or so I thought, until I learned that the forthcoming live-action Lion King film has made the egregious decision to cut one of the best songs from the movie. I'm talking about Be Prepared. So basically, obviously I'm not going to read the whole article, but this shows that at one point it was thought that they were going to cut the whole thing, and that is, as far as I know, based on the fact, and I'm sure it will say here somewhere else, that they were, I'll probably be able to find a quote, but basically they were literally planning on cutting it. Is this person saying they were planning on cutting it? They were planning on cutting it. But then there was such a massive fan reaction that they were like, okay, we'll include it.
And rightly so.
Yeah, then they were like, okay, we will include it. And
yeah, I can't believe that.
And then they only half included. So basically the original plan 12 months ago when this was written was for it to be cut, full stop.
Yeah. That makes sense considering how shit it is.
Yeah.
That they go, okay, we have to include it, so let's do the bare minimum. I just call it pathetic, and yeah. Why would you make a decision to cut it? It is a fantastic song. It is so good, and this person agrees with me, and I'm glad. It is iconic. I really do believe that. Like, the way that Scar in the original, the way Jeremy Irons sings it, and, the lava bursting out from the ground and the marching hyenas. Oh, it's so good.
No, yeah, the way it all comes together.
Cut it. Who the fuck had that idea? What a fucking... Oh, God.
Yeah. I wish I'd actually done all my research for this, because I just remember seeing articles going crazy, like saying, oh, they're going to cut it. Which I didn't really care about because I'm not as much of a stan as you, but if you would have found out, then we'd be hearing about it for hours.
Yeah, I remember watching a video on that song, and the person was really annoyed that Be Prepared had been mangled, like I was. And to think that they nearly cut it, oh my God. Who was in charge of this movie?
Well, Jon
Who
Favreau
was
was
making these decisions at Disney?
See, Jon Favreau was the director, which is I don't know, crazy. Maybe we just don't respect Jon Favreau anymore.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it wasn't his choice because I mean, how do you direct a movie like this? Really, how do you do that?
Yeah,
I don't know how you would possibly direct. I mean, the only thing you can change, I guess, is the scripts, because it's all already laid out for you. You know how what the music is. You know how the story is going to go. You can only change like specific aspects of the script.
Like if I was called on to direct this film, I would not be passionate about it at all, because I'd be like, well, what am I going to do?
Yeah,
exactly. There's not really much motivation to be creative. Yeah.
Well, you seen that? I've got an idea, guys. You know the 1994 version? Yeah, we'll just do that again. Right, there you go, sorted.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, if I was in charge, I'd do my weird plan of keeping the original soundtrack to the original film, just be like, we're going to animate differently over the top of it and release it as live action The Lion King as a different cut of it almost. That would be my strategy, and that's literally the best I could do. I don't really, there's no point writing a new script or casting new actors or getting new voice performance. We'll just do the live action animation, but we're not even going to change anything apart from that.
Okay, we'll get on to Hakuna Matata now.
Hakuna Matata.
Well, it's a song which has all the life taken out of it.
Yeah.
And then, the bit when Simba as an adult starts singing?
Yeah.
Is the clip I saw.
Yeah, no, that's the clip that I think we all saw. I don't know, it was like released quite early, and that was the moment everyone was freaking out.
In the review, I said I've seen that clip, and it does not look good, and therefore I gave it a lower score than you, I think, on our Rotten Tomatoes predictions. Because I'd seen that clip. I just want to check this is accurate.
I think you're right, yeah. I think, actually, now I remember it. I think I only saw it because you mentioned it, so I'm...
Yes. And, I guessed 65, you guessed 70. It was actually 53 in the end, by the way. Well, it scored 53% on Rotten Tomatoes. Is really, really low.
Yeah, I think this is a good point to bring up, that The Rise of Skywalker almost certainly still has 86% on audience ratings on Rotten Tomatoes, because Rotten Tomatoes is corrupt, and they've kept it frozen like that.
Yeah, again, just a song which has all the life taken out of it, just the animation, it's so much worse.
I had one comment, like two actual comments on that, which is it's doing this like meta thing they do, and they do it twice in this song. So, well, one time after the song, but the first one is every time that I farted. Obviously, in the original, he gets cut off, and in this one, he's like, aren't you going to cut me off? Which is, fine. I mean, I don't really care about it. And then the other thing that they have, which is like a weird meta joke, is when, after they finish the song, he goes, oh man, you grew up while we were singing that song. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like, oh, you're much bigger now that we're done singing that song.
Yeah, you gained 400 pounds is the line.
Yeah, in the time it took us to sing that song, which is like kind of weird. Like, it's just a strange type of humour to see, especially in a film that's trying to make itself more realistic, to have such a weird, like, wink, wink, nudge, nudge joke in it.
Yeah, those wink, wink, nudge jokes are weird, because that's the thing, you have made the choice to recreate this movie.
Yeah.
You have made that choice. So, like, joking about, isn't this the same as the last one? It's like, well, yeah, obviously, because you chose to do this. I don't really get the humour in that. It's like, oh, well, we're not going to have Timon cut Pumbaa off. Okay, great. I don't really know what to say to that. It's not funny. To me, anyway. I mean, it's a reference, so maybe that's why people like it. Yeah, it's just, but the actual substance of the joke is...
When I was a young warthog.
Got anything else to say on Hakuna Matata before we move on?
No.
Okay. So that was Hakuna Matata. Now, next up is Can You Feel the Love Tonight?
No, I can't.
Do you have any criticisms of this one, Mike?
Considering
it's your favourite.
Well, here's the thing. I think it's kind of just the generic things. Like, it's not... It's obviously the animation means you don't really... Ironically, I can't feel love tonight because I don't have those sexy lion eyes to look at. But overall, it's not like... I don't think I have any issues with the song itself, or like things they do with the song. I think it's the same issues. Not as serious, I think, as with Just Can't Wait to Be King. Not really at all. But just generally speaking, it's not as nice looking. It doesn't communicate the emotions as well. But I think the song itself is fine, and I guess Beyonce is a good singer, so that's nice too. So... yeah, not bad really. I know you might think, well, it's your favourite song, so really be really offended. I just like the song, and I think they did a pretty good job at just copying the song, so well done.
Well, as you mentioned, Nala doesn't give Simba those eyes.
No, and that is, it really is so disappointing, because those eyes they'll do things to a man.
So yeah, I guess I just have the same criticisms of Hakuna Matata with Can You Feel the Love Tonight? Same kind of thing. All the life taken out of it.
Yeah. No,
but I guess-
too much mention of farting.
Yeah, the animation, I think, isn't as good in Can You Feel the Love Tonight in the original compared to Hakuna Matata, so maybe it's not that much of a bastardization, but yes, it's still worse. So let's talk about the new song now, Michael, which is Spirit
Yeah.
from Beyonce.
Spirit.
I
It's a
think
spirit.
the intro to the song is good. Then it, gets going, it's alright, and then it just fades away after 30 seconds and is immediately replaced with sad music as they approach the Pride Lands, which is confusing why they didn't make it a longer song, because I assume they introduced that into the movie. Like last week we talked about how there's a new song in Cats, so it can have a chance of winning
Best Picture.
an Oscar.
Not Best Picture.
Yeah, not Best Picture.
It's very
yeah.
rare for a song to win Best Picture.
Yes, Best Original Song at the Oscars. Same kind of thing here. We'll add an original song, but it's just not that long a song. I don't need to rhyme. Yeah, but I can't help it. Also, Nala doesn't sing. It's Beyonce singing, but obviously she voices Nala, but Nala isn't actually doing the singing.
Yeah.
I think what would be good is you have, obviously, Simba, who's running back to the Pride Lands, and then it cuts to Nala, who's walking back, very slowly, and she starts singing quite softly, and she's sad, and then Simba comes in, and then the song picks up and turns into something as they race back to the Pride Lands. That'd be decent, but they did not do that.
No.
What do you think?
No, yeah, I mean, overall, like, that song, it feels like a song from, like, a different kind of film. Like, it feels like a song from almost like a more fun, like, adventure film, in a way. Like, I don't know. That feels a bit like weird when I think about like fun adventure film, but it doesn't feel like a film, a song that kind of does it, because all the songs in this, they kind of feel, I don't want to say they feel emotional because they're not like funny and things. I guess it feels too generic, I think, is the issue. Like a lot of the other songs in this film are very directly related to what's happening, whereas I don't feel like this is as much. Like obviously, I just can't wait to be king. It's literally saying, it's like explaining what he wants. Be prepared. He's talking about a plan he wants to set in action. The Hakuna Matata is talking about, hey, don't worry about things. Spirit, why, what spirit? Why is it spirit? Why is it, why are you saying spirit? Surely, shouldn't it be like, I don't know.
Well, because he has the spirit.
Yeah, like basically in the
but
most...
that's something you could actually say in your song as the characters singing. Like,
Yeah.
you have the spirit, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, yeah, because it feels like, in a way, it feels too nondescript, which is a strange thing, Like, it doesn't actually feel like it's really getting to the plot.
Yeah, I know. That is an issue. And again, that wouldn't be an issue if the characters actually sang it.
Yeah, definitely.
But they don't, which is a bad choice. So that is it then. We have covered the plot, the animation, and the songs, and basically just this has been a review of the 2019 version where we have just compared everything to the 1994 version. But the thing is, you can't really do anything else. That's the only thing you can do. So shall we conclude now, Michael? Do you want to go first or shall I?
Why don't you go first?
Okay, I shall go first then. So, I remember watching a video on music in Disney movies, in the modern Disney remakes, and the end of the review said something quite poignant, I think, which is that all these songs are just a reference to something. All these movies, actually not just the songs, are a reference to something we know and love, and all these movies are doing with The Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, is reminding the audience of something that is good.
Yeah.
And that is a big issue. You're just reminding, oh, this was good, wasn't it? Oh, this was great. You loved this, didn't you? And it's not actually good in itself. But yet it still rakes in the dollars because of that. Because people just want to be reminded of that nice feeling they had when they watched the first Lion King. And you know what this whole concept reminds me of why people go to these movies, Michael?
You know what? I mean, I don't know. Tell me.
Well, yeah, it's quite an abstract comparison, but I think it's a good comparison. So, have you seen Rick and Morty?
No, I haven't seen it. It's on my bucket list.
How have you not seen that?
I tend to be really fastidious with my shows that I watch. I think fastidious is the wrong word there.
Well, Rick and Morty, I don't care. Rick and Morty should definitely be in that because it is a great show. And yes, the fans are.
Yeah, but
very
right now
annoying.
I'm watching Desperate Housewives.
Oh yeah, of course you are.
And after that, I was thinking about watching that show Heroes. Do you remember Heroes?
I do.
Yeah.
Rick and Morty is better than both.
Yeah, and there isn't that much of it actually, which I guess is kind of good because I do like things that I can like knock out the park quite quickly.
Anyway, Anyway. So in Rick and Morty, there is this episode where this character. It's very hard to explain this concept, but essentially there's this character who is a clone of Rick. Do you know which one's Rick, by the way?
Yeah, I know the characters. Rick's the science guy.
Yeah. So there's this city, and it's a clone of Rick's. Okay. And one of the Ricks, So there's this corporation which has this Rick hooked up to a device. And what this device does is play that this Rick is in a coma, and this device plays to this Rick in a coma the memory of when his kid Beth, I think that's correct, was born. Okay. And it's an incredibly nice feeling. It's a feeling of happiness. And what they do, the company is called Simple Rick. They take that memory or the tears that's coming out of his eyes, and then they put it in a chocolate bar. To sell to other Ricks in the Citadel.
Naturally.
So it's like, this amazing feeling. And it's a commercial. And it's like, come home to Simple Ricks. And that is what these movies are. These Disney movies are. Again, I hope I explained it.
No, yeah, it's
a hard concept to explain. Yeah. Like, the audience is that clone Rick, and they are getting pumped with these memories of this movie, and Aladdin, and Dumbo, and Beauty and the Beast, and Jungle Book, and Cinderella. They're getting pumped with that, and they're just smiling, happy, blissfully unaware at how shit the situation actually is. Or maybe not life, just how bad this is. Because that is what it is upsetting. You are taking something which is just. I loved the original Lion King, and this, I called it an abomination. I really do think it is. It is that, and it is.
Honestly, I think it's an abomination. Sorry, I think that needs to be said.
Yeah, I agree. And there's a consensus from Rotten Tomatoes, which I think does sum it up well. While it can take pride in its visual achievements, for sure, The Lion King is a by-the-numbers retelling that lacks energy and heart that made the original so beloved. Though for some fans, that may just be enough. And that is the case. It's like, yes, it is nowhere near as good as the original, but for some fans, it's like they just need that like artificial, I guess, love of this movie. They need that. That's all they need. And it's incredibly sad if you think about it. I think this movie, we did Cats last week, and this movie is more offensive than Cats. Because if you think about Cats, that was a remake of a stage musical, which hadn't been done before, obviously. It's a different concept, the stage to film. And, Cats is... Who cares about Cats, really? Who actually likes Cats? Nobody does.
No one.
I mean, I'm talking about the musical, obviously, not the animal. No one really likes Cats. And The Lion King, it's a whole different thing. You've just remade the 1994 version, and it's like I said before, or the review said before, it is beloved. So that's why it is more offensive a remake than Cats. I mean, you can compare the two, I guess, because of the fact that they both involve some type of cat, and they both have horrible CGI in it. Well, one of them is. The Cats is really horrible. It's not horrible, the CGI, but the fact that it is CGI is what makes it horrible. So, yeah, but I do think that The Lion King is more offensive a movie than Cats. And so, I'm going to put this probably below Cats, Michael. Because I don't see any artistic merit in this movie. I don't think they improved anything upon the original. This is a completely pointless movie that, again, it doesn't work anywhere near as well as Aladdin or Cinderella, or Beauty and the Beast. This is just completely awful. I'm going to have to give this a 2 out of 10 for me. Just, actually, this guy, A.A. Dowd, writing for the AV Club, said it was joyless, artless, and soulless. It transforms one of the most striking titles from the Mouse House Vault into a very expensive, star-studded Disney nature film. We're watching a hollow bastardization of a blockbuster. I once completely reliant on the audience's pre-established affection for its predecessor, and strangely determined to jettison much of what made it special. And I think the Be Prepared thing is a clear example of that. So yeah, I've got nothing but contempt for this movie. This is a 2 out of 10 for me, and I've been very harsh, but I think this movie does deserve it. So there you go, 2 out of 10.
Well, Luke, we started off this podcast by talking about an essay I'd been writing about The Hobbit. And obviously, I was being very cynical about that. But I actually had to write 3 essays one of which was more abstractly about the idea of development. And one of the quotes I ended up using was somebody who said, what we see in a lot of development projects pursued by neoliberalism is ruthless growth, voiceless growth, rootless growth, and futureless growth. And I think that sums up my opinions on this film if you replace the word growth with film and also put a bad in there and then just replaced all of the first words with bad. It's a bad film, it's a bad film, it's a bad film. I think most of all, Luke, it's a bad film. The obvious point is that someone might say, well, if you didn't have The Lion King, then this film wouldn't be as offensive. It would just be, oh, that was kind of a dumb film. You wouldn't hate it as much. But obviously, this film invites comparison to The Lion King by being a remake, and therefore you compare it and you go, wow, it highlights how bad it is. And you say that it's less offensive than Cats, and you say that it's more offensive than Cats, and I 100% agree. Cats, what I said about Cats when I was talking about Cats is that the most shocking thing to me about Cats is that I was watching thinking, yeah, I guess if I was a musical fan or a fan of the Cats musical, I'd be a fan of this film. It's just a bunch of cats singing about things. And I was kind of surprised to find out that this film is not liked that Cats is not liked by Cats fans. Obviously, in this case, if you're a Lion King fan, you're going to hate this film way more. And it's very depressing to me that there are people who might consider themselves Lion King fans, who are fans of the original film, who also like this film. Especially if the reason they like this film is just because it's reminiscent of this film, or because they're so invested in the original film that they feel like they have to like this film because it's a related intellectual property. Because that's how they get you, these Disney fuckers. So I'm going to put it as a 2 as well. And the reason I'm going to put it as a 2 is because when I talk about a 1, I have a very clear, defined idea of what a 1 is. A 1 is a film that I call oppressively bad. A film that's so bad that I feel its badness in the core of my body, to the roots of my feet. I don't know. I feel the badness of the film. In this case, I was actually quite bored. And for me, boredom can usually take a film away from being a 1. I know lots of people say the worst thing a film could be is boring. I'm like, no, for a film to be like a 1, it has to be so bad that I'm disturbed by it. In this case, as much as there were lots of really horrible, objectionable elements in this film, like the fact it just completely shits all over moments, mostly musical moments that usually have really great animation and it's just nothing. Overall, I would say that the prevailing feeling was just that it was boring and unnecessary, and therefore, based on that, it's not a 1. Based on the fact it's boring and unnecessary rather than horrendously, disturbingly bad, I am going to put it below 2 points below Cats, though, because I'm going to put it below Death Note. And it's only just shy of the 1 area. Only Zombie 2 is saving it from being in the 1 territory. So, The Lion King, 2019, it's not good.
Yeah. You talked before about neoliberalism and the issues with that when it comes to art. And David, I just want to add this quote because David Ehrlich of IndieWire kind of gets at that. He says, this soulless cinema of a film comes off as little more than a glorified tech demo from a greedy conglomerate, a well-rendered but creatively bankrupt self-portrait of a movie studio eating its own tail. And yes, I think I agree with that. It is I give this. The word I'd use to sum up this movie is it's just sad. It is sad. It's sad that it was made. It's sad it was made, how it was made, and also it's sad how much this movie grossed as well. Just incredibly unfortunate all around. But Michael, I just remembered what we're doing next week.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta do that better. So that's The Lion King, the 2019 version. Michael, what are we doing next week? Are our spirits going to be picked up by the movie we're doing next week?
We're doing we're doing Batman Forever, Luke. No, we're not. I wish we would, that's the thing. I wish we were doing Batman Forever. We're doing The Rise of Skywalker.
Yes, The Rise of Skywalker. The last of the 2019 films in this little trio that garnered headlines for the wrong reasons. So yes, that is The Lion King, the 2019 version. Join us next week for The Rise of Skywalker. Who have you been, Michael?
I've been Michael.
I've been Luke. Thanks for listening and goodbye.
Goodbye.